The early to late years, 1964 to 2026. 1964, Elliott working a rest a while upholstery, and he met Paramour in September. He was living on Elliott Estate. She was living Peel Street, Double, Bolton. 1965, courting with Paramour. June was her best friend. 1965, my best friend went to Australia. Her best friend went to Singapore with her husband, being in the Marine. Late November, she comes pregnant, Paramour. I was doing upholstery in my mum's, first stools, etc., recovering them. And it was a friend who helped to deliver them, November 1965. And 1966, February 19th, Elliott and Paramour gets married. Duly born August the 19th. And it was in March when Elliott and Paramour went to a party in a club. And Elliott was sat at the table on his own. And Paramour sent 3 girls over. And they said, your wife has sent us over for you to take us up Scape Road for a good time. 1967, living at Bromley Cross, renting a flat and working at Mayfair Upholstery. Elliott's best friend came back to Bolton in January, February and was waiting at his house so that he could borrow his car to go and see if he could get back with his ex-girlfriend. Nicola, born 28th of November. 1968, Elliott was working at Mayfair Upholstery. Then they had no work and Elliott was laid off. So he was trying to get an upholstery business going and doing speedy removals as well. He got an old school rent-free for 6 months from a Mr. Woods. In 1969, Elliott started a Warburton's Bakery as a salesman delivery man. He was on the Cheshire Run, Cheadle, Gatley, Didsbury, Cheadle-Hulme, Wilmslow and Bramhall, etc. And then later on, from Bromley Cross, where he was living, he moved to Ratcliffe Road. And Carl was born December 12th. 1970, middle of the year, he got a Bolton round, which included serving the Town Hall canteen, Bolton Evening News canteen, Peagram's supermarket, the Market Hall. He served a Warburton stall. Darcy-Lever, he served the Lorreville canteen. Then he went up to Bromley Cross Co-op, and then down to the Starkey Co-op and shops around the Denvale Avenue area. Then he would call home on Radcliffe Road then for a cup of tea. Then after his cup of tea, he would carry on to Darcy-Lever, through to Little Lever, then on to Farnworth, where he would finish his round. In November, her best friend's husband was back from Singapore and was calling at his house. He had been calling for quite a few weeks before she told him that he was calling. 1971, still on the Bolton round, Mark was born August 13th. 1972, she started a part-time job at Lorreville, and it was Elliott's brother who told him she was knocking around with someone from Lorreville. Elliott did find out that it was true. Anyway, at a later date, Elliott finished a Warburton to start his own upholstery business. He had plenty of work coming in. 1973, Elliott's business was flourishing, so he bought a Bedford Luton van at an auction. He was doing very well in his business till 1974, when Elliott went on holiday with his family. And in June, and on the way back home, they got hit with a 32-ton coal lorry. Elliott was the one under the coal lorry, having to be cut out and taken to King's Lynn Hospital, where they found that he had fractured pelvis, broken ribs, and a punctured lung, and he was put on a respirator to keep him alive. 1975, Elliott was on the sick, but November he got a job in Atherton at Johnson's Upholsterers. 1976, Elliott moved house to Thornham Drive, Astley Bridge. He bought a shop on the main Blackburn Road and opened it as a natural history shop. Paramore was running it through the week, and Elliott went in on the Saturdays. Paramore did not like it, so she finished. Elliott was hoping to change the shop into a burger bar cafe, but the council turned it down. 1978 and 79, Elliott still working for Johnson's Upholstery. And then early 1980, Elliott got a job at Mother's Pride Bakery in Salford. 1981 to 1984, Elliott finished at Mother's Pride, took redundancy and got £4,000, so he started his own business again, Haverest Upholstery. 1985, plenty of work from Fenlow Carpets in Swinton, reupholstering furniture from top-class hotels, London and Germany. In 1986, he took Paramore and the lads to Vancouver in June. 1987, Elliott started reupholstering for Fufu Lamar's clubs, which was City Lights in Farnworth, Bolton, and Fatso's in Rochdale. He also was recovering hotels in Betsy Coed, where Elliott bought some land, hoping to build a bungalow. But Elliott had an interview to run a butterfly house in Queen's Park, Bolton, and he got the job. He bought a cottage on Belmont Road, Bolton. 1988-1990, he was butterfly manager. When Paramore went to Greece to see Carl, which was in February 1988. When she came home, she started being nasty. Then she told him she did not love him anymore and to find someone new. So Elliott did accidentally when taking his dog for a walk round the park. So then he sold his house, sold the shop and sold the land. 1990, December, Elliott moved to Wales with the girl he'd just met. 1991, Elliott got a job in Llandudno at Atkinson's Upholsterers. And 1992, Elliott got sick. But while during his sickness, he wrote a book on Betsy Coed. 1993, in August, Elliott was 50 years old and had a party in Bolton. His girlfriend went to live with her brother in the Lakes. 1994 to 2004, Elliott was doing plenty of walking, etc. around Betsy Coed. Until 2004, he sold the house and bought one in Bolton. Also buying a caravan near Bedgellet. And that year, Elliott's mum died in June. So 2000 and 2007, Elliott was going to the caravan and breeding butterflies. He set a butterfly house up on the land at the caravan. 2008, Elliott was back in Bolton. Again, he started breeding butterflies there. 2009 to 2012, Elliott was breeding and releasing butterflies. He made a butterfly DV DVD on the Red Admiral butterfly. 2013, 2014, he started going to rock and roll clubs with his mate, Chris Cobb. 2015, his brother Charles died. While he was in the care home, Nicola went to see him, and when she left, Charles then told Elliott that Nicola was not his, but Tony Tootle's. So Elliott did not take much notice of him, for his brother had dementia. 2016, Elliott met Joy, so he started going out with her. 2017, Elliott did a big butterfly release outside Bolton's Town Hall, and in 2018, Elliott married Joy. 2019, Tony Tootle died. 2020, Tony Tootle's partner sent Elliott Tony's autobiography. 2021, Elliott read Tony's autobiography. When reading it, he thought back on what his brother had said about Tony, and the similarities, etc., were so much alike, he started researching on not just her, but the rest of the children he had brought up. He could not believe what he had found. 2022, Elliott went to the doctors for his medical reports, re-1960s, when he was on a tablet. The tablet was an antibiotic called tetracycline, which he was on for 14 years. 2023, still researching. 2024, Elliott went to court to see if he could get the children he brought up to have DNA tests. The judge would not agree. Elliott's research recap: read the years with and without Paramour. 1964, met Paramour in September. In 1965, October, Paramour was a bridesmaid for her friend Dorothy. She never told Elliott that she was going to be a bridesmaid. Elliott thought she was working that day for a lady who had a shoe shop on Halliwell Road, not far from her house where she lived in Orange Street. That was Paramour's Saturday's job. The night before Dorothy was getting married, Paramour had told Elliott that she was going round to Dorothy's to have a night in with her, and that Elliott should go to Dorothy's boyfriend's, Dick's house, for he was having a few mates at his house for his stag night. Elliott went like a fool, for he did not know Dick very well, but did not stay very long and went home. Elliott did not know that Paramour went to some nightclub when she had told Elliott that she was staying in Dorothy's house. Elliott found that out at a later date during his research, for he went to see Dorothy, who had remarried. Dorothy showed Elliott some photos of her first marriage, Paramour wearing a bridesmaid dress, and the photos of Dick, who looked just like Harvest, or Harvest looks like Dick, both spitting images of each other. Harvest is Elliott's youngest son. These must have been the first lies she told Elliott, or were they? 1965, Paramour went with a so-called friend of Elliott's, Buster, delivering stools that Elliott had made, as he only had a small car, a Lotus Elite. Buster offered that he would take the stools to Paramour's work friends, and Paramour went with him. Elliott worked out when that time was, and it was around the time when Paramour got conceived. Elliott went over a lot of things connected to Buster, like his girlfriend Rose. Paramour and Rose did not like each other, but they put up with each other, reacquainted friends. Elliott now thinks that this could be one of the reasons why Paramour went with Buster? Or was it because Paramour would have sex with anyone? Elliott managed to get some photos re Buster's early days, and yes, he was right. There is a definite likeness between Buster and Summer, especially their characteristics. 1966, Elliott and Paramour married in February. In March, Elliott took Paramour to a club, and she went talking to some people at the bar whilst Elliott sat at the table at the bottom of the club. Then Elliott saw 3 girls walking over to him. On arriving where Elliott was sitting, they said to him, "Your wife has sent us over so you can take us up Scape Road in your sports car, and we can all have a good time." Scape Road was a courting place for couples. August 1966, Summer was born. But just before that, when Paramour sent these girls over to Elliott, Elliott then went to the bar and grabbed hold of Paramour and took her home to her mum's. And her mum invited Elliott in, saying, "Can you please sort it out? What about Summer?" So Elliott took her back, took Paramour back. Anyway, in August 1966, Summer was born. January 1967, Elliott's best friend, Sebastian, came back from Australia and wanted to get back with Marilyn. One day, Elliott arrived home from work and found Sebastian in his house. What he wanted was to borrow Elliott's car to go to Marilyn's and see if he could see her to talk things over. Sebastian would not knock on her door. Instead, he would borrow Elliott's car for quite a few nights. Maybe he ran into a couple of weeks or so. But one night while Sebastian was parked up over the road outside Marilyn's house, a car pulled up and a guy got out and went and knocked on her door. Marilyn came to the front door and was dressed to go out with him. She got in the car and they drove away, with Sebastian following them. Now, why did Sebastian want to borrow Elliott's car when he could have maybe used his brother's car? Anyway, November 1967, Autumn was born. Elliott did not think that his best friend would try anything on with his wife, but it certainly seems that Sebastian did go with Paramour. It was Elliott's brother Jack that told Elliott that Autumn was not his but Sebastian's. Elliott should have believed his brother Jack. Jack's ex-wife was friendly with Paramour. Elliott's research not only brought up that at the time Paramour was pregnant with Sebastian being around. Photos read Sebastian and Autumn looking alike with their blonde hair. It was only through reading Sebastian's autobiography that Elliott pieced it together that his brother Jack was right. 1968, Elliott was working for an upholstery firm near the town centre and was still busy doing odd jobs. 1969, December, Paramour had winter. He knew as a look of Elliott's so-called mate, Augustus. Elliott's research went back to the days when Paramour wanted to go and stay with Augustus in Australia. Elliott looked at photos and yes, Augustus made plenty of time to be with Winter. So Elliott brought up photos, re-Facebook, and yes, the likeness is unbelievable. Is this why Paramour wanted desperately to go and stay with him in Australia? 1969, Elliott started working at Warburton's Bakery, Cheshire Round. And in 1970, he was still on the Cheshire Round. 1971, Elliott managed to get a Bolton round. Now, in 1971, Elliott knows that Paramour's best friend, Dorothy, and husband, Dick, had come back from Singapore, where he had been stationed with being in the Marines. Dickie boy, was calling round at Elliott's house in the mornings whilst Elliott was working. This was around the time Paramour got pregnant with Harvest. Elliott researched the time when Dickie boy was calling in to see Paramour, and yes, it was when Dick was calling Paramour. Paramour told Elliott that he was calling only because Elliott's friend, Jim, had seen Dickie boy going in and coming out of Elliott's house. For Jim, he too was a Warburton's driver salesman and lived just lower down the road from Elliott. 1972. Elliott could not believe Paramour was seeing someone where she worked part-time. This was at Lorryville in Darceleva. It was Elliott's brother Jack who told Elliott that she was going to Blackpool for a night with a guy from Lorryville. Elliott had found out that there was no trip to Blackpool, for Elliott served the Lorryville's canteen with bread and told him there was no trip. Anyway, Paramour did not go to Blackpool with this guy, for Elliott said, if you leave this house, you will never come back in it again. So 1973, Elliott finished a Warburton bakery and went self-employed. 1974, in June, Elliott was involved in an RTA, a 3-ton coal wagon, which came across the road, crashing into the car, and he ended up under the lorry. Elliott was rushed to hospital with a fractured pelvis, broken ribs, and a punctured lung, and ended up on a respirator. 1975, Elliott was on the sick. Late 1975 to 1980, Elliott was working as an upholsterer for Johnson's in Atherton. 1980-85, Elliott started working for Mother's Pride Bakeries in Salford as a driver salesman. In 1985, Mother's Pride finished the working there, and Elliott was transferred to Wigan, but he did not like it, so he took redundancy. So in 1985, Elliott started self-employed as an upholsterer again. 1986, he was still self-employed and took the family, Paramour and the 2 lads, to Australia. Elliott could not understand why Paramour wanted to go when she was not supposed to like Augustus. Anyway, that year, Elliott bought some land in Betsy Coed to build a bungalow. 1987, Elliott still self-employed, but got the butterfly house job for the Bolton Council on Queen's Park, Bolton. 1988, January, Elliott started a Butterfly World. In 1989, Paramour went to Paris to see Winter, whilst Elliott was working at the Butterfly House. When she came home, Paramour went from bad to worse. Elliott did his best to keep his marriage going, even taking home the guy she fancied from Octagon, who played Arthur Fitton in the film Family Way. But she was adamant that things were not going to get any better by saying to Elliott she didn't love him anymore and to find someone new. This is where she made Elliott the scapegoat. For Elliott thinks when she had gone to Paris, she had met a guy that she knew when she lived there, and it was love at first sight, for it had started when she went to a bank to get some money, and when he asked for her name, he told her she was called Paramour.